So good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this session on Indigenous North, a conversation among young entrepreneurs. Today we'll be talking about youth leadership, entrepreneurship, and innovation, and specifically what it means to navigate the North as young Indigenous women. We'll hear directly from Masha and Charlene about their lived experiences as youth and gain a deeper understanding of what Northern and Indigenous youth are experiencing in today's rapidly changing political climate in their region, in Canada, and the world. Before we dive in, I'll briefly introduce myself and our panelists. So, my name is Sasha Mathieu. I'm a master's student at the University of Calgary, studying, as you may have guessed, the Arctic, and I'm an intern for Arctic 360. I'm very pleased to be moderating this session. It's a privilege to be here today with two inspiring women, Masha and Charlene, who are joining us for this final session of Arctic 360's 2026 conference. Masha-May Fotheringham is a young Inuk woman who has grown up between Rankin Inlet, Nunavut, and Winnipeg, Manitoba. She graduated high school and went on to attend the Nunavut Sivunik Savut program. Masha currently manages social media for Amautiit, the Nunavut Inuit Women's Association, and most recently supported the Nunavut Inuit Women's Leadership Conference in Iqaluit and Northern Perspectives in Winnipeg. She has conducted a number of video interviews on important issues affecting Nunavut women and youth, helping bring visibility to conversations that are often overlooked. She's also worked with Arctic Buying, an Inuit family business registered under the Nutrition North program, which helps source southern goods and ship them to northern Indigenous communities, working directly to address the high cost of living in the North. Masha's on her own journey of exploration and learning, and part of that includes facilitating discussions on issues that affect Inuit, especially youth. Her willingness to engage in and contribute to difficult conversations is critical in raising awareness and advocating for solutions that improve lives. Now I'll turn to Charlene. Charlene Porter has worked across multiple sectors, including hospitality, administration, and as a lands administrator. Her frontline experience has given her the opportunity to work directly with people from a wide variety of backgrounds and communities. She's worked at both the local and territorial government levels, including with the Departments of Transportation, Economic Development, and Environment. During her times in the Lands Division at the municipal level, Charlene gained hands-on experience in land and property management and development, including land records, applications, and ensuring compliance with legislation and policy. Charlene graduated from Kikertik Ilihaatvik with her secondary diploma and completed the Outward Bound Canada Outdoor Education Program in St. John, New Brunswick, an experience that reflects both her leadership and resilience. And so before we dive into this discussion, I also wanted to thank Arctic 360 and Jessica for putting this panel together and for giving three young people the opportunity to be on stage, to be a part of this conversation, and to connect with such a great audience. Several speakers yesterday mentioned and emphasized the importance of engaging youth, and this is a great example of how you do that. So with that, I'll turn it over to our panelists before my voice begins to falter, and I'll begin the conversation. Maybe Charlene, I'll start with you. We'll jump right in. Could you tell us a little bit more about yourself, your journey, and what inspired you to start the path that you're on today?
Hello, everyone. My name is Charlene Porter. I'm from Gjoa, Nunavut. I grew up in Gjoa basically my whole life. And what inspired me today on this path is helping the youth with things that I'd never had growing up. And that's basically it.
Yep. Can you tell us about some of the things you may not have had growing up?
I never had the support that the youth are getting today, like education-wise. Sorry.
No, the opportunities, maybe?
Yeah, the opportunities as well. Yeah.
What about you, Masha?
Advocating for women, and I just want the best for my family and for the youth, the generation growing up. Education is a big thing too, And yeah.
Could you tell us a little bit about the Arctic buying company or business that you're helping run?
Oh, yeah. So my mom started that business when we first moved to Winnipeg. I was 5 years old. She had no plan of anything she was gonna do. We just packed up our house, left Rankin, moved to Winnipeg, and it was just like a big culture shock. And she figured it all out on her own. And she's one of my biggest role models. My Ananachak, which means grandma, helped me and helped her with all of that, getting that organized. And Arctic Buying is like a food subsidy program that ships food, anything, cars, snowmobiles up north. It's basically like when I explain it to my friends, I say, oh, it's like the Amazon, but for Nunavut. Yeah, that's how I would explain it. And yeah, that's why I've been living in Winnipeg all my life.
And what's your role with the business? Do you help out?
Oh, I don't work there anymore. I
Okay.
do Amautiit social media now. When I did work there, I was like a warehouse worker. Believe it or not, I know how to drive a forklift, and I was doing that. And I ended up liking it, but I wanted something more Inuit involved. Like the closest I would get to talking to Inuit was either when they would travel into Winnipeg for medical, or I'd email, "Hey, your order's ready." But that's about it. So I wanted to like be more engaged with Inuit women, especially young Inuit women, and kind of have that role of like an older sister. I have two older brothers, and I just always wanted an older sister. I notice I like have a bunch of family that is very like, inspiring, mentoring. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, in the future, do you see yourself continuing to work with these women? Maybe starting something new? Entrepreneurship, we're talking a lot about that.
Yeah, definitely down the road. I can see myself doing that. I have great people around me that can help for all the questions I have. And yeah, I just want to stay connected with, my roots.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you both. Switch gears a little bit, and we're talking a lot about the North, the Arctic. But what does being a young Indigenous person in the North mean to you? Personally and culturally, what does the Arctic mean to you? Maybe I'll start with you, Charlene.
Yeah, being an Indigenous person personally and culturally is pretty, sorry,
It's so good.
I'll
You need to
go
take
for-
some water.
sorry.
So for me, I would have to change this and say in the South. So a lot of my friends, they don't know too much about Nunavut, my family, like our culture, anything. And I noticed like they're learning a ton. I'll even share some Inuktitut words. I like sharing a lot of my culture with them. When I'm meeting new people in Winnipeg, some people will even say, oh, where is that? Like Nunavut? And I'm like, oh, like the top of Canada. I don't know. And then I have to go on like a huge 20-minute tangent about what it's like. There's no trees. As soon as I say that, they're like, what? What do you mean there's no trees? How do you breathe? I had the same question too, but I don't know. It just works. Yeah.
So it sounds like you have to explain yourself a lot.
Yeah,
And
many
explain what the
times.
North is
Yeah.
to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about yourself, Charlene? Do you feel it's a similar experience?
Yeah,
when
I've
you meet
always
people?
had to explain where we are. I'm like, why do I have to explain this? You're in Canada. You should know
Yeah.
this. But yeah, that's what I dealt with.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I mean, my friends, they ask, you're studying Arctic security? Like, what do you do? Like, what does that mean? And so I can only imagine what you guys have to go through. We talked a lot about kind of your journey, telling us about yourself. Has anyone specifically helped shape your path? You talked a little bit about how you wanted to mentor women in the future, and how, Charlene, you maybe didn't have those services earlier on, or that support. But has there been anyone that stood out?
Yeah, I looked up to my grandmothers. They helped me become who I am today, to not give up on my dreams. And also my father, he's very into politics and yeah.
So family.
Yep,
big
family.
thing.
Yep.
What about yourself, Masha?
Definitely my mom. I still work with her. She's actually the president of the company I work for. And yeah, when I worked for her company, she was still my boss. Yeah. So yeah, I've always worked with family, or I've always had family around. My Ananachak, who lives in Rankin Inlet, she, gives me some wise words every now and then, like, don't be nervous and all this, or, oh, just speak up, or what a great opportunity. And yeah, she's always motivating me to do anything, say anything, do these kind of things. She was really excited that I was going to this conference actually. And yeah, she was like, don't be nervous. And she's like, I know you're shy, but you'll be fine.
You're doing great on the panels. So.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Taking that, so you've had some people that have helped you, shaped your path. And you mentioned, Masha, that you have to explain yourself a lot living down south about what the Arctic is. So from that, I want to ask, do you have other challenges that you've both experienced? You both kind of have different perspectives because you live up north, you live in Winnipeg now. So what are the biggest challenges you've experienced or are experiencing in being an Indigenous young person, young women specifically?
So there's a lot we deal with that is very challenging between housing and education-wise and food security. Yeah, that's a lot. That's a big deal in Gjoa, Nunavut. That's where I'm from.
You were telling me earlier about how some communities get all the good
yeah,
resources, and some others kind of get
Are
left
left
behind.
behind. Yep.
Yeah.
So we are. That happens a lot in Nunavut. There are some communities who get a lot of more attention than others, and it's so unfair because there's a lot of amazing young youth with
Services.
the courage, but they don't have the access to the right education and help.
And resources.
Yes, yeah.
So a bit of a, I guess, feeling a little bit disadvantaged.
Yeah.
Or even struggling to reconcile that others,
Yeah.
other Indigenous people might be getting more than yourself
Yeah.
in your community. What about you, Masha? Any specific challenges that you face, especially since you've moved down south?
People not understanding me, my family, the reason, like, the way I am that I am, what I do for work. Many things are just, can't be explained to other people. And another, you used the word barrier, you said?
Barriers or challenges?
Challenge. Growing up, I always wanted to fit in living in Winnipeg, and obviously it wasn't that easy. And I kind of grew up a little part of me being like, oh, like I don't want to be who I am, like I don't want to be, Inuk. Like like I just want to be like all my friends here. And I realized like that was such like an ugly outlook on life. Like I shouldn't have been wishing to be something else. Like I should have been more grateful for who I was. And it was more of an internal conflict that I dealt with for a little bit when I was younger. And that was one of the biggest challenges I had to overcome. And then when I was done high school, I was like, okay, like I need to focus on my career, who I am. My identity was a huge thing. And I started researching. That's why like the Nunavut Sivuniksavut, that was like a complete course about like learning about my like culture and where I'm from, the language. Like I don't know how to speak Inuktitut, but I always thought like that would make me less Indigenous. Turns out that's a big, huge misconception. I'm still Indigenous even though I don't know how to speak the language. Yeah, that was definitely one.
So that kind of brings me into this question then is, what do you think could be done to kind of help? I mean, you went through your own journey as well. Is there anything that you see? I mean, we have a lot of private sector folks here that could be done. Yesterday, Anico Eagle Mines talked about investments in northern education, so having a university where youth could study in their communities. Is there anything that would have helped you guys in your journey or that you would suggest, recommend to the people who are here? Whether it be investments in education, you mentioned food security a little bit, investment maybe in internships, bringing more youth, Indigenous youth down south to share their experiences? Is there anything that stands out to you?
Yeah, I think that would be one of the biggest ones because we're so isolated up there and it gets pretty hard during the winters mostly because we get 24-hour without any sunlight for about 2 months. And but yeah, I want to go back to this question. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Yeah, they deal with a lot of mental health issues because there isn't a lot of resources to help.
Okay. And just so we're clear, we're talking about barriers that Indigenous youth might face. So I'll give you the floor to that if you want to
Yeah,
talk a little bit
sorry.
about that. No, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys noticed, but Nunavut is known for the highest rate of suicide, and that I want to change that. I'm hoping to make a change for that for the young next generation.
Yeah. Do you have any ways forward or ideas?
I think gaining our Indigenous culture and language would help. Staying connected to the land and also connecting with other students all over the world, like Canada and other places.
Other Indigenous students maybe in the world? Sami people, for example? Cross-cultural exchanges?
Yep, yep.
Yeah. On that, you mentioned connecting to culture. So you think, for example, that investments in a university up north where Indigenous youth can, they don't have to fly down south to go to university, they can stay in their communities?
Yep.
That be helpful to the mental health aspect of it all?
Yeah, I think that would be very helpful. I heard there's a university being built in Amautiit, so that's good to hear. And yeah.
Masha, anything you'd like to add to barriers, or should we move on to maybe solutions or ways forwards that you would like to see?
The solution, I like what Agnico Eagle had to say yesterday about getting training programs for the youth and to get them working in the mine. I noticed like a big barrier for people up north is like the lack of post-secondary education and getting like the training for these jobs, or most people just kind of like resort to like government jobs because those are some of the best ones, or they relocate. But yeah, like I think getting all these training programs for Indigenous and getting like the help that they need, like the mental health, is really important. Because yeah, once you have a sense of purpose, then it's much easier from there.
Take a move, yeah. And then we did have innovation and entrepreneurship in the title. So I wanted to ask, kind of looking ahead, if you guys see opportunities for innovation in the North. I mean, we talked of investments, but do you think maybe there could be opportunities for culture, food systems, climate solutions? Is there anything else other than, let's say, education that you'd like to see?
More community engagement, I think. Like so between like the South and up north, like getting more Indigenous in conferences, getting more Indigenous public speaking, and getting them on panels and all that kind of stuff, hearing what they want to say, getting them a part of like the solution and including them in the conversation.
Charlene, do you want to add anything?
No, that's
I was going to say, because this is both your first panels, right?
yes.
Yeah, so it's first time kind of being brought to something like this. Do you want to talk maybe a little bit about your experience in attending Arctic 360? And has it been helpful? The discussions that you've had with others? Any thoughts?
Yeah, I met quite a few amazing people, and yeah, the sessions were amazing. It's good to hear that they have plans for the Arctic. Yeah.
I learned a lot. I was in the back there on the first day, googling some words that they were talking about, and I was like, "Oh wow, like that's such a good idea." Or, and I liked how it was all like current events, like Greenland. Like I'm seeing a lot of that on the media, and I want to hear from them. I liked how there was like the Zoom call with one of the Greenlandic people, and yeah, I just want to hear from them, and yeah, I like being a part of the conversation and learning. The whole reason why I went was to learn. Yeah, yeah, I was really excited, and I did have some conversations with some people, and it's nice to like get the best of like both worlds, all the different worlds, everyone's different background, getting some insight, some perspective. Yeah.
And you think youth, Indigenous youth in your communities would benefit from coming to these events, so bringing more youth down?
Yep.
Yeah.
Definitely.
If they have like the drive, like the engagement to, do it, then yeah, yeah.
Do you feel like in the recent years, when more attention has been given to the Arctic, that you've had more of these experiences or these opportunities available? Or do you still think it's pretty limited and more should be done to engage youth?
I'd say pretty limited,
It is pretty
Yeah.
limited. Yep.
unfortunately, yeah.
Okay. So this is kind of straying from the session's topic, but as a student interested in security, I had to ask, Arctic and otherwise, what is your perspective on security? We heard a lot of military, hard security here, but also infrastructure and communal resilience. What's your take on security?
I would say maybe taking care of the land, the animals.
So environmental security as well.
Yep.
Yourself, Masha?
Environmental laws, respecting those. Also like protecting like the bodies of water and all that.
How do you guys feel when you see all of these investments in military, but sometimes not the accompanying investments in community and in people? Do you feel like there's a imbalance?
To be honest, I feel like they should involve Indigenous more when they're speaking about the Arctic and the Northwest Passage, because that's where we get our animals and where we camp, hunt. So it would be nice to have more Indigenous involved. Like maybe they could go to the communities and talk to elders, youth, and draw up maps and make sure to yeah.
Consider and include everyone in the discussion.
Yes.
Proper consultation, like we know what's best for ourselves, and yeah,
Our
as long
people.
as they're included in the conversation and topic.
Yeah, no, I agree. In closing, we'll open the floor to questions, so start thinking. But in one sentence, is there something or what gives you the most hope about the future of the North, or something you're looking forward and to?
Just more help. Yeah. They need access to everything.
You know,
Yeah.
do you feel it's going in the good direction?
Yep, it is.
Do?
Yep.
Masha, what about yourself?
I feel really good about it. Like I'm like, because I do social media, I'm always seeing social media, or I'm always seeing Inuit influencers, and yeah. Wait, can you repeat the question again? Sorry.
Yeah, for sure. What gives you the most hope about the future of the North? If you could summarize that in the sentence. You said you're seeing good signs on social media.
Yeah, lots of advocating, lots of people getting together, starting movements. For example, Amautiit, they recently started a Me Too movement that's continuing to grow and grow. And like the more I like look at that every day, I'm realizing that there's more hope, there's more faith for Indigenous women, not just Inuit, but in more of a broad category.
And I wanted to also ask you, Masha, because you live in Winnipeg, so there's a lot of non-Indigenous people, non-Indigenous youth. Do you find that they've become more understanding as time has gone on? You might be able to speak about this as well. Or do you find that there's still a lot of work to do with the youth as well, the non-Indigenous youth?
I think there's still more work that needs to be done. Like we're always progressing, and I think that we can keep advancing. This has been said a lot, but it all starts with our youth, and like we're youth, but not, young, but we're like the next to pass it on.
Absolutely. Anything to add?
Nope.
No, sounds good. So now I'll open it to questions from the audience. We'll see if there's anyone. Oh, we have one. Perfect. It's helping me, so I'm not as much on the spot.
Hi, good afternoon. Hi, good afternoon. Thanks to both of you for attending. Really appreciate it. Congratulations for being here. My question is for Masha. What is the name of your social media channel? And how do you find, we've heard about the data challenges up in the north, and in spite of those restrictions, how do you find the engagement from people who are in Nunavut? And is it from all territories, or is it mostly just Nunavut?
Mostly just Nunavut, and the company account is Amautiit.niwa. The NIWA stands for Nunavut Inuit Women Association. It is a not-for-profit, and
Yeah, give a shout out.
the second part I didn't quite get.
With the restrictions of data up north, how do you find the engagement when it's so limited to get onto the internet from the north?
Do you find you have a lot of engagement from people up north with your Instagram page?
Yes.
And getting them engaged?
Yes. Yeah. So if I do an ad for example, like a Zoom call inviting, Indigenous people of any kind of background, we'll mostly get comments from community members, all of the communities in Nunavut, and they'll come join us through Zoom, and it's like they're there with us, kind of, I like to say. But yeah, and it's all, yeah, I can't think of any community that I haven't dealt with. When it comes to social media and getting each community to engage with their post and all that. Sometimes they reach out and they email, and we get together and sometimes partner.
Any other questions? Oh, we have one up here.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Good questions and great answers. I grew up in the north, in Labrador, a lot further south than Gjoa, but in an isolated community, and it was many years ago. But so I understand the barriers to isolation, and today and yesterday, we heard a lot of talk about infrastructure in the Arctic. We heard about roads and satellites and ports and ships and planes and all these kinds of things. As young people, young women who are very articulate, very intelligent, a really good grasp on the communities that you're a part of, what would you see as the single most important piece of infrastructure to help young people like yourselves in the Arctic today? And what would be the single most important service that could be provided to help young people in the Arctic? So 2 questions. What would be the infrastructure investment? What would be the service investment that you think could really transpire where youth is today to where you see them wanting to be in the future?
I like this question. I think I'm gonna add on to what she said about the mental health supports. I think that's really something we need to focus on. It does get looked over a lot, which is very sad. It's just kind of like a norm. It's very big in men. We were talking about that before, about how it affects them more, and I think that they need the supports and the conversation needs to happen. And yeah, it all starts with healing, I think. That's a big part.
Yeah.
And what about the infrastructure takeaway? Ports, harbors, schools, universities, satellite service, internet, we heard all of these things that are needed in the Arctic over the last 2 days. what do you see as a priority investment in infrastructure?
For me, I would say healthcare and housing. Yeah.
The mine, I think. Like, I think that's where the most growth can happen. I think of how much Agnico Eagle has done in the past few years, and it's been a ton of work. And yeah, I think it's really benefited the communities up north.
Any other questions?
It should be gone just yet. I think, Charlene, you mentioned the what we all know is the highest suicide rate per capita is in the north. And we know that in Australia, they've recently banned social media for youth 16 and below. And I'm wondering what your thoughts on that as France is considering it and other societies. And we know that social media can bring great things and also bad things. And you rely on the youth and connectivity. And I'm just wondering what your thoughts on that, not just for youth in Canada, but for youth that you're familiar with in the Arctic.
Well, to be honest, I think that was a good decision for Australia. I think that should be everywhere because the internet is very big and it's scary and it's dangerous. And I think you should be old enough to have access to it. So, but at the same time, it's so very isolated in Nunavut. So they have not much to. They don't have much to do, so that's what they turn to. And I'd like to change that and get programs running for young youth so they don't have to run to the phone and be bored. Yeah. Thank you.
Any other question? Otherwise, I have one more for you. No? Okay. My last one is, what's one misconception about Indigenous youth, especially in the North, that you'd love to address or correct? Masha, would you like to start?
Yeah, I would say a misconception would be this is more about like kind of adding on to what I said earlier about Inuit identity. So because I don't know how to speak the language, that doesn't make me any less, Indigenous. And there's always like in the community like this weird like lateral thing where it's like, oh, you don't know how to hunt and do all these traditional things. Like they are very beautiful things that we should be carrying on and learning about our culture, but just because I don't know how to do some of it doesn't make me any less Indigenous, especially as an urban Inuk. Like I like to see myself like growing, getting an education, furthering like my entrepreneurship. And I think that's like a big misconception about like how having the balance of both worlds is overlooked. Like for example, like we both came here and like we still have our family back home and like balancing both of that. And I'm kind of losing my train of thought here, but like keeping the balance between culture and also like living in the South and in the North, like having that switch like that is kind of overlooked. And yeah.
It doesn't mean you're less than.
Yeah, that's a big misconception, I think, is, not just because you don't know how to do things that are cultural, traditional, doesn't make you any less.
Charlene, anything?
Yeah, that's what I
You
was gonna
concur?
say.
Perfect. We have a little bit of time left, but I think I'll call it unless there's any other questions. But thank you both again for being here, for Arctic 360, for having us. And I hope personally that these conversations with youth can keep happening. And yeah, maybe you can go chat after with the wine.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the questions, too.
Go ahead.